Welcome to Barbatus Catholic Podcast, the show where three Mexican dads talk about faith, life, and culture. We are your hosts,
Gustavo,
Ivan,
and Walter. And today we are going to talk about the Via Crucis, or Stations of the Cross. But first, a word from our sponsor. Our sponsor for this episode is Don Taco Mobile Taco Stand. If you're looking for the best tacos in the valley, look no further. Let Don Taco cater your next event, whether it's a birthday party, quinceañera, or a wedding. They will bring to you the tastiest tacos made with the freshest of ingredients. Book them today. Go to dontacocatering.com to learn more. You can also follow them on Instagram at DonTacoMTS. And now, to the show. Do you remember fish fry? Man, I miss fish fry.
I miss it, dude. Fish fry is like, not only do you eat. I mean, I'm not a big fan of
fellowship.
Fish. It is. It's the fellowship. I love shrimp
and the fish.
All that. See, I'm not a big fan of fish.
I love fish fry.
Yeah.
I love fish fry.
Wait, so what do you have on Fridays on Lent?
Shrimp.
Oh,
Yeah, fish itself, like salmon, things like that. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan. But shrimp, lobster, crab.
Cálmate, lobster.
So fancy.
So fancy. El fresa,
Fresa.
güey. We really miss St. Joan of Arc's fish fry. With COVID and everything, I don't think that's going to be a thing this year either. But
Did we have fish fry last year?
yeah,
I think
it was
a week.
canceled after a week.
After a
Mhm.
week, so we had it for like a week, right?
Yeah.
I
We had it for a
remember.
little
Yeah,
bit.
I remember me picking it up because everything was starting to
Yeah.
like spike, and I was like, we gotta have fish fry. So what if we just pick it up and take it home?
Yeah.
And I think we did that for the first week, and then they like
Allegedly,
trigger.
the claim to fame of St. Joan of Arc's fish fry is that the best parish fish fry in the valley.
That's true.
You can Google it.
Mm-hmm. We're number one.
Shout out to
We're number one.
shout out to Deacon Andy Lambros for putting the logistics together, and the Knights of Columbus. They do a great job with that.
yeah.
But yeah, man, like
There was this one guy that got there, I think a day late to fish fry. So he got there like on a Saturday after the fish fry had ended. So he had heard about it, like you said, right? He just like word of mouth. He said, "Is it true that they have a fish fry here?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
on Fridays.
It's on Fridays, and yesterday was the last one." He's like, "Well, when does it kick up again?" And it's like,
Next year.
next year. You're literally like, this is the day after the last fish fry of the season of the year.
Yeah, like,
And the
Happy
guy was
Easter.
like, "Oh," he's like, "Do you know of any other?" I'm like, "Not really.
No.
We'll
Not
see
a
you here.
Catholic church.
We'll see you here next year, sir."
Long John Silver's. Please don't demand us. Long John Silver's.
Don't sue us.
Sue us. Thank you. See, English as a second language.
Yeah,
Gee.
yeah,
Translating literally from Spanish.
exactly.
This is what you get at Barbatus Catholic
It's
Podcast.
the Spanish. It's like Rosetta Stone,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
You learn a little bit of Spanish along the way.
And this is the third episode that we are recording today. So
Yeah, it's been
energy is starting to decline. But, what are we talking about today? We are talking about Stations of the Cross. And that's like, I would say that it was like they go hand in hand. You go and gorge yourself with shrimp or fish at the fish fry, and then you go in and pray the Stations of the Cross, right?
which
Right
is
after it.
coming back to that comment. It's
Gorge.
what do you guys think? Because I kind of feel guilty going to fish fry because on Friday, right? I mean, we usually fast on Friday
And abstain.
and abstain, obviously, but then we go to fish fry, and I mean, I blame the church that makes us do this.
Well, no, I know. It's like Deanna and I have the same predicament because we're like, well, we're giving to the church because we're buying the meal there, and is going to the church. And I'm like, okay, yes, like that's to appease our conscience. But I think that the way that you can make it a little bit less, feeling less guilty, because Catholic guilt is real. um just make it your only meal of the day,
That's what I usually do. But
and maybe
still,
get the
it's
rice instead of the fries, because who likes
okay.
rice?
You're
know.
pushing it. You're
I
pushing
know.
it.
I know.
Their wild rice is pretty good.
It is.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not like I don't remember who this was. It's one of the saints that used to put ashes on his food so he wouldn't enjoy it. So it was just like fuel.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's the little joys in Lent. I don't know. I don't think that answered your question. I just like gave an example.
No, I
like,
know, but it is like a little too good because I love fried fish.
like fish tacos.
Yeah, I love fried fish, man.
Or lobster. I mean, if you get a lobster roll on Fridays at Lent, like that better be your only meal of the day, because it's so rich.
It's the only one I can afford for that day.
Oh,
for that day.
Yeah.
Like if I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna go out and get a lobster roll.
That's true. That's how you roll.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the things I love about you. All right, Stations of the Cross. Okay, so where
also hold up? It's kind of weird. So like if you go to Fish Fry, and then that the Stations of the Cross is at 7.
Yeah.
But some people like, oh, let's go to Fish Fry, but then let's go home and not stay for the Stations of the Cross. It feels kind of weird.
Well, yes, but when you have screaming children that cannot stay,
that's very true. And you know what? That kind of hasn't been my experience, because so we had Lily in January. So we did have our technically like our first Fish Fry, but then the next one, like, it was during the pandemic, so we kind of weren't. No, we didn't really have that because Lily was so little. So I can kind of see that.
Yeah, like we tried with Oliver and Amelia, but now with 3, I don't think.
But so. I would feel so weird. Like, I'm gonna go to Fish Fry. Oh, Stations of the Cross. Oh, look, I have to go home.
Like, oh, it's like I'm too full to kneel and get up 14 times.
Yeah.
So maybe eat half of your fish fry and then save the rest, so you have like the stamina and you're not like comatose during the prayers. I don't know. But there's no RIP fish fry. Anyways.
I know.
Stations. Okay. Thank you. So where does it come from? So we know that we are preparing in this time of Lent to celebrate the passion, death, and resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ. And this devotion to the Stations of the Cross comes from the Via Sacra or the Via Dolorosa, which are 14 actual places in Jerusalem that go from the Praetorium of Pilate to Jesus's tomb. And in the show notes, we'll put a link to like a 3-minute video that shows you all of the places. So what started happening is that Christians started building shrines and chapels in these places to commemorate Jesus's passion. So a lot of faithful would go on pilgrimages to the Holy Land and retrace the steps of Jesus, going from the Praetorium to Calvary. And there was like this beautiful thought of like Mary being the first one to do Stations of the Cross, like reliving that the footsteps of her son going into Calvary, which is like I don't know if like there's any historical record of it, but just thinking about it, it's very beautiful to think that she would do that.
Yeah,
I mean, it's Mary. Come on. So around the Middle Ages, the Holy Land became pretty volatile, and the pilgrims weren't giving access that easily. So the Franciscans and others through Europe started building chapels and shrines to replicate the same sites in Jerusalem. So then you get people building those 14 places, recreating them outside of Jerusalem. And around the 17th century, Pope Innocent the 11th, one of the last bearded popes, by the way, which we need to make an episode on bearded popes. Yeah, like around the 17th century, like popes stopped.
Just went soft.
Yeah. Like clean shaven. Anyways, that doesn't mean that they are less holy, but if you look at the 17th century and back, there were popes with like really, really awesome beards. Anyway, tangent. Pope Innocent the 11th, around the 17th century, granted the request from the Franciscans to grant the same indulgences that were given to pilgrims to go into the Holy Land. And that's around the time that this tradition of having these 14 sculptures or like milestone, how else would you describe it? Statues in some places, plaques.
Scenes.
Scenes.
It can be called a scene. Yeah.
It started to be something that was widespread in the church, which you think about it is like several centuries old, which I didn't know when I was reading all of this, and then now like it makes a lot of sense when you think about the account of the gospel that says everything that happened with Jesus's passion. So I'll be honest and say that Stations of the Cross is not something that I pray outside of Lent. It's not like a devotion that I have. Have you had an experience with Stations of the Cross and reliving the passion of Christ in your life of prayer?
I mean, not outside of Lent, like you said it. I think, I've only ever really done the Stations of the Cross during Lent. And then I think I've done it a few times, on retreats or something like that. We usually like lead the teens through the Stations of the Cross. But what I can really think of is on Good Friday at our parish, we have the life Stations of the Cross.
Yeah.
And like Gustavo was talking about in our last episode. And like I've been a part of the life stations, and it's really.
Oh, you were Barbatus, right?
Yeah, I was Barbatus one year, and you were a soldier actually, and I remember you were super intense.
Yeah, I got really into it.
You got really into it, which I was.
Yeah,
I feared for the actor playing Jesus at some point during the live stations.
I have a background in musical theater, so I was just giving it all to my character.
It's true. Remind me about a dream that I had about theater and you. It was pretty funny. But yeah, like that's been my experience just doing the live stations of the cross. And it's something very powerful for me, and not just for me, but like everyone. I mean, we get a crowd that goes to watch this, and it happens every year, and it's it's so moving and so powerful.
Yeah, I think it's one thing to read about it and pray with it,
but to actually see it.
Yeah, when you see like actual people living it, and that's a great thing that I mean, I love so many things about our parish, St. Joan of Arc, but yeah, just having that experience of doing live Stations of the Cross and seeing it, which, to be honest, I thought that it was just like a Mexican thing, but it is universal, like the church is. In fact, I don't know if you guys know this, but they're like one of the most famous Via Crucis in the world is in Mexico City, in this place called Iztapalapa, and it's a borough in Mexico City, and we'll probably put like a link to a YouTube video of the one in 2019, to the point where like local TV channels, like big network television, covers the event and then like narrates what's happening, and you see like the seas of people participating in this, which is like something really wonderful. And they even do like interviews with the guy that is playing the role of Jesus in the recreation. They started to make like this really big production one in Monterrey as well, in my hometown, and one of my uncles was part of it, and so I was like really proud of him for doing that. Really great efforts to bring to life that very special moment of the life of Jesus, where he died for all of our sins. And it's a very good reminder of what our faith is about, because we proclaim Jesus resurrected from the dead, right? That is like John Paul II said, we are an Easter people, and hallelujah is our song, or alleluia is our song. This hallelujah sounds separated, brother. No disrespect, but yeah, I think that is like something there that, at least me personally, I haven't tapped in to, like dwelling into the passion of Christ, because it's kind of like, it's uncomfortable to think of Jesus in Gethsemane sweating blood,
Yeah.
And then you have like religious orders like the Passionists, like Saint Gemma Galgani, who would get like horrible headaches, but like she was really into like the Passion of the Christ. Those I think that's like the challenge, or where I think, well, just the three of us to have like a deeper devotion to the Passion of Christ, I guess, if that's a thing.
Yeah, I think it's been, as I've been growing my faith, I've come to live the Passion more accurately, I want to say it, because I've been putting myself more in that, kind of like when you do like Lectio Divina, right? That part of Lectio Divina is with discuss is that you put yourself in that situation, in that passage that you're reading. So I've tried to do more of that each Lent, and it's really helpful to walk when you're praying Stations of the Cross, which is what most parishes do, right? You process around your parish or your church, and you make the stops and you kneel, and so it's you're also praying with your body, because you're kneeling and standing multiple times, like you mentioned, 14 times essentially, right? And it's really vivid to do it that way. I have really fond memories from when I was a kid in youth group, because that was one of the biggest things we did during the year, was put together stations, because we would actually walk it. I think I mentioned in the last episode that it's like, I don't know, a couple of miles, 3 miles maybe, that we walk from one church to the other. And it's really cool in my hometown of Nogales. It's if you're familiar with it, it's full of hills, right? Nogales is like a city that's just made in between all these tiny hills, lomas we call them, right? And my church, where I grew up and where I was an altar server and did my first communion, is on top of this hill. So actually walking the stations, or walking the Via Crucis, got really real, because we would have to walk uphill for the last 10 or so minutes. And the church would overlook kind of like a great part of the town. And so you would really, and we would put the 3 crosses right at the edge of the parking lot, essentially, of the church. Shout out to Cristo Rey, by the way, which is my home church. And that always gave me like a sense of like, this is what it was like, because I mean, and for those who are familiar with Mel Gibson's The Passion, you see that it's right on the edge of like this hill and this cliff, right? And so that representation for us was, we really put a lot of effort into it, because the whole, like a lot of people around town would join the procession, and kids would really get into it, because you would do it with the kids of youth group. And like this one time, they were hitting him for real, and like after the whole production or whatever, this guy was actually like really hurt from the back, and the cross was really heavy. So to a certain point, we try to instill that in whoever was part of the cast, to make sure that they lived it as well, right? To make it an experience of not necessarily like, you're not putting on a show, but you want to make sure that you are experiencing a little bit of whatever your role is, whether you're Veronica, or whether you're like the Weeping Women, or whether you're like the soldier. Think about what that role means in your life, and how it can help you this Lent and living out Easter. So I have very fond memories about Via Crucis when I was growing up. It's something that I really miss, when we moved up here to Phoenix, because down in Nogales, they did it every year. And I think it was Ivan's the first one that I saw at St. Joan, that I was like, well, this is great. This is good. The little resemblance. We did in the courtyard, so I kind of missed the fact that we were processing out on the streets. But no, Via Crucis and stations after fish fry, it's a must. We really enjoy it.
Yeah. What's the name of when you said about the characters? What's the name of the centurion that says this truly was the Son of God? He has a name. I forgot his name.
Starts with an L.
Man,
I can look him up if you want.
Yeah,
it starts with an L.
Google that. But yeah, because that was my line in the Via Crucis. I was like, this truly was the Son of God.
Mm-hmm. We would always tell the actors, we would say, there's going to be times where you might get whipped for real. Like you might get hit. Just take it. Yeah. Pray with that pain. The cross that we used was super heavy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you remember
it's
carrying the cross at all. Like, it was heavy. And so
it's very sizable.
The actor who would have to play Jesus.
Was it Longinus?
Yes.
Longinus.
Yeah. I knew it started with an L.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever...
Conversion story.
Yeah.
Right then and there.
I always try to watch The Passion of the Christ on Good Friday.
I was going to say
Good Friday.
The tradition for you too?
That's a tradition
every Good Friday.
Ever since it came out, it's just...
Deanna cannot stand the scene about like the
devil.
Well, that and the scourging at the pillar. Oh my goodness!
Man,
my mom has never seen it to this day. She said I cannot sit through that.
See, that's the thing. Like
she would be too impacted by it, I think. She said she told me she will never see that movie.
And I don't want to say that Mel Gibson's The Passion is gory, but I would say that is a very accurate description. Like, if you think about scourging, that was a punishment that would be administered to someone. Like, they could get killed just from the scourging.
Correct.
So the fact that he gets like a double whammy, right? That sounds awful to say about the Passion of the Christ. He had like, yes, go ahead.
Well, I went to film school for a little bit because I wanted to be a director when I grew up. So when I was going to film school, like they told us to get a movie and kind of, study everything from a filmmaker's perspective, cinematography, all that. And I picked The Passion because, the school that I went to, it was a very secular school, but I was, I had my reversion and I was practicing my faith. So I really wanted to keep that. So I picked The Passion. So I watched it so many times, but I watched it because I'm the kind of person like will buy the Blu-ray or the DVD and we'll watch the extra scenes because I love how movies are made. And just seeing everything that Jim Caviezel went through while filming this movie was
pretty
insane.
Got struck by lightning, right?
Yeah, he got struck by lightning. He dislocated his shoulder. Some of the scenes where he was getting whipped, like some of those scenes he actually got hit. So they just kind of made like prosthetics or like bruises next to those real bruises. When he's carrying the cross on the Via Dolorosa, like the scene where the cross, when he falls in front of Mary, that scene where the cross falls on him and you can see like blood coming out, that's real.
His blood.
That's actually his blood. Like I guess the other actors didn't catch the cross and it fell on him. I mean, he went through the Passion in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
he did a great job.
Oh my gosh. Every time I like when I'm in prayer, when I think of when I think of the face of Jesus, for some reason I always see Jim Caviezel's face. I don't know, just kind of it's a good visual for me. But yeah, The Passion is one of those movies where every Good Friday I try to watch it because it's a good reminder. We know our faith, we know what the Lord did for us, and His ultimate sacrifice, and it's a beautiful reminder.
And it's never, it doesn't grow old.
Absolutely not.
In terms of filmmaking, I mean, I'm a movie buff. I really like movies. I'm like you. I'm like a movie geek in terms of like when The Lord of the Rings came out, I have like the extended editions.
They're coming out with the 4K.
Yeah, we got.
That's my next purchase.
Yeah,
after Exodus 90.
But I just really love the
you were
process.
Gonna say again that I haven't seen Return of the King and rub it in, but thank you for not.
The process of filmmaking is just very, very appealing to me, and so the fact that for me The Passion is just a flawless movie from every angle. One of my favorite scenes is that I can see it. I could draw it for you if I close my eyes. Right, is when Jesus dies, and then the camera just pans up through the sky, and then the scene kind of blurs, and then it you notice that it's a drop of rain. That the first drop of rain is like God cried, and boom, and then everything just like starts shaking. But that view from the sky down on Calvary, for me, it's like movie magic. So
that's such a great scene. And then did you see how they made it? Like the whole dude,
I need to watch the extras.
YouTube it. It's super cool. The actress who played Mary, I don't know what it is about her. She is just beautiful. Like that actress, like she looks so motherly. She looks like she looks like Mother Mary. The scene that always always like it just strikes me is when he dies, he gets taken down from the cross, and they recreate the Pieta.
Mm-hmm.
And like the way she like looks at him, and then she just looks straight into the camera.
Yeah.
And
I know.
just like the camera just like backs away, and you just, I don't know, just to me, like she is Mother Mary.
Yeah.
To me, like she's so beautiful.
It's such a good reminder, like you said. I think reminder is a really good way of putting it. The other thing that we've been doing for a couple of years is, so we stopped watching, like when Lent starts, we just quit, kind of like what you guys are doing with Excess 90, right? Every secular movie, secular music, we try to like fast from all that stuff during Lent, and especially during Holy Week. But we do incorporate like movies and music, obviously, to make us go through Lent and go through that Holy Week. And Jesus of Nazareth is another really good one.
I was gonna say, like, if you didn't have the Passion, which one would you pick?
Jesus of Nazareth, because you can watch it with like little kids to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how little your kids can be before they watch Jesus of Nazareth, but the cool thing about that is I think it was a made for TV movie, so it's like different installments, so you can watch it like in the course of 5 days. And because it's so long, it's like 8 hours, I think it's the length of the movie. Yeah, 8 or 6 hours, something like that.
I've never seen it back to back. I think like I've seen excerpts from it. It goes through the whole life of Jesus,
essentially. Yeah,
nice.
So we watch like an hour a night, and we split it up into however many those. I don't know if it's a 6 or an 8 hour movie, but it's pretty long. And that also, like, it's a great storytelling. We're kind of bothered about how blue-eyed Jesus is in it. But once you see past through that, and it's a pretty good movie.
Nice. Yeah, I think that all of these things really can help anybody be more aware of the great sacrifice that Jesus made for us, dying on the cross and redeeming mankind, taking the sting out of death. It's like the battle was won there, done. But now it is our job to not only remember that and strive for holiness so we can get to our final destination in heaven with Jesus, but to use these prayers, these movies. Obviously, if you can pray Stations of the Cross, and I mean, watch the movie. It's good. It's a good. Would that be considered Vicio Divina if you watch the movie and pray?
Maybe.
But definitely having always a disposition of conversion as you are watching or consuming these movies, praying with the Stations of the Cross. I think watching it live, meaning in the Holy Land, just like all of the places where Jesus set foot. Like I haven't been to the Holy Land, but hope one day, bucket list to get there, and just going into the, I don't know if it's a Basilica of the Sepulchre of Christ, and just like looking at that slab of stone where his body was laid to rest. And then after that you get like so many other things, like like the Shroud of Turin, and then what's the other one with Jesus's face is imprinted in?
I thought that was the Shroud of Turin.
Oh, so but there's another one where like the one where his body was wrapped in.
Oh yeah. It's escaping me. Yeah.
Anywho, the point is, during this Lent, pray the Stations of the Cross every Friday. And then outside of Lent, why not start a devotion to the Passion of the Christ every Friday, during the year? Could be. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Might try it out.
So a couple of things I'll just point out. One year we did, this is pre-COVID, we went to Canaan in the desert. Have you guys been there? It's this little garden. It's right around the area where we all live.
Is here in
North Phoenix? Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's a beautiful little like garden, prayer garden, which has like a pathway with the stations. So we did that like on Good Friday one year. Amazing to think that we were hot while doing it, because we went like around 11 a.m. and it's open. I think the Evangelical Sisterhood of Mary. We'll put a link in the show notes. But it's just a beautiful place to be. And we did the rosary there while walking the stations. And the other thing we did last year because of COVID is because we couldn't go to the church. Is we did like the kids drew up their own stations. And
put it in the backyard.
We just put it in the backyard.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
And that was awesome, because we did it every Friday, and similar. I mean, sans fish fry. We did fish sticks, but but no, it's just really nice to see them like all positioned along our yard. And ideally, that's one goal that we have for our backyard, to make it like a little prayer garden, essentially, to have a more robust stations that we buy. And not that my kids aren't like cute as a button, those drawings, but
I mean, they are pretty cute.
They are pretty cute, but we would like to have like something more stationary that's always there, so we can so we can always have that devotion available for us. But check your parish, like at St. Joan of Arc, they have stations.
We cheated and we
in the
went
courtyard
on Good Friday, and we were praying just the family.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a really good devotion to get into. I just thought of something that a little Solanus story. Remember the story that Gustavo talked about in the very first episode about the couple that went in, and then he talked to them for like 3 hours, and when the other brother went to close up, they were just leaving?
Yes.
Okay. So at the end, there was like this interaction between the brother and Solanus, and the brother was like, oh, sorry that you couldn't retire early to go to sleep and get some rest. And Solanus said, well, yeah, but even when before Jesus fell on the way to Calvary for the third time, he stopped to talk to the weeping women. And I was like, wow, that is so fantastic to think like, and that is like, I'm assuming that he must have had Stations of the Cross or the Passion of the Christ very present in his life as a religious, so he could pull from that to think about how even in the midst of this physical agony and suffering, he was still giving he was giving himself out of all of himself to us. He still took the time to talk to the weeping women,
to console them,
them, not only talk to them, to console them. So yeah, that's just mind blown.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Final thoughts?
I mean, I feel like the Stations of the Cross really humble you and just really makes you just kind of take a step back and just view everything. There really is there's no Catholic faith. There is pretty much no church if it's not for the Via Crucis, right? And it's just it's so beautiful to see what the Lord did, and it's so beautiful to be able to recreate that with your family, by yourself, with your parish community. It's always something that it's going to be so powerful, and everyone's going to see it a different way, but it's just a beautiful reminder.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Barbatus Catholic Podcast, the show where three Mexican dads talk about faith, life, and culture. If you like the show, please consider subscribing to the podcast, sharing it on social media, leaving a rate and review on Apple Podcasts, and recommending it to your friends and family. And if you didn't like it, well, just mom's the word. Just keep it to yourself and let others make their own mistakes. You can follow us on Instagram at Barbatus Catholic Podcast. You can send us an email at hello@barbatuscatholicpodcast.com. On the web, we are at www.barbatuscatholicpodcast.com, where you'll find the show notes for this episode and more. And as always, Blessed Solanus Casey,
Pray for us.
Until the next time.